listened to a jazz musician named Chet Baker. Looks like he had a dismal finish to life. The music was amazing. He would be what I would like to be, playing trumpet. I used to play trumpet. I watched him before start, and he's playing around with the trumpet, I think, with the spit valves, pushing down the valves. Oh yeah, I remember all that. Putting the valve oil. He had a trumpet case. You could store what you needed. He also sang, and I think he has like I can sound like him. And he does a lot of scat. And he's a white guy, so I guess Chet Baker is pretty cool. Before then, I went on a binge. I had to figure out Layne Staley. I noticed all the rock stars killed themselves. It's nuts. So a number of factors killed off music, including internet, the different way now for a medium. Anyone over a certain age will remember before internet, the radio played such a role for driving. The car radio, the FM. In the house, the stereo, it was always radio stations, also tape cassettes and various stuff. Then it became CDs. But I got into it during the tape cassette era. There were a number of nice radio stations. College stations were good too. There were always a couple good commercial stations covering rock. There was one for rock. There were two for rock. And there was one for alternative rock. So you had hard rock, regular guy, the rock we always knew, the all-encompassing rock, and you had the alternative rock. Opie and Anthony were on the hard rock station. Oh, and then there was a classic rock. And that's when it kind of changed. If I try to go into the memory bank. I moved on from Chet Baker. Oh, I started to talk about Layne Staley. Is that who I want to talk about? So yes, Staley's on my mind, and I think Cantrell's overrated because I finally listened to the band that Staley was in 1995. Staley was in a band. They had him join in. They wanted to get him off the drugs. They had him become the singer. It was just a one-shot deal, probably. It wasn't like they were trying to break up any bands. And I think Cantrell had a solo album that year too, 1995. They're called Mad Season, and there's at least 3 great songs on that, probably 4. So there are about 4 songs on that were better than anything Cantrell did without Layne Staley. It's just really disgusting what Cantrell ended up doing. He's doing songs that Layne did. He's having the new guy do it. And as people have pointed out, the pitch range between the new guy and Cantrell is too close. Like, the reason why Cantrell and Layne Staley worked was because of the difference, the total difference. Cantrell's like the higher pitch guy, the more common voice, and Layne Staley had the unique, perfect pitch voice. So I saw Layne Staley. He was definitely probably around 95 pounds, 100 pounds. He looked weak, big time weak. Maybe 110, 120. I mean, some of those boxers are like 6 feet tall, and they weigh 110. And Staley was a sort of as an Aspie. I said we have more of like a frillish frame. Not frill, I'm not saying we're weak. Just like the way we end up based on nerves. There's something about the smaller mouth. It doesn't mean we look, it's still invisible. Like, most of these Aspies are considered cutish guys. They were the rock stars. John Lennon was an Aspie. He was getting dates. So there's a lot of stereotypes out there about Asperger's, and they're simply not true. Now listening to some classical music, I guess this is Bach. I feel that every twist of notes has already been done. I'm listening to this guy, and if I didn't know it was Bach, if I didn't know this was from like 300 years ago, I'd be picturing something modern at some point. Sounds a little bit like Jose Feliciano. Sounds like some of that stuff Led Zeppelin stole, the Stairway to Heaven. They were coming right out and admitting that stuff was stolen, that they would just steal stuff. That song If by Bread, I'm pretty sure that was a rip-off of Somewhere Over the Rainbow from Wizard of Oz. So Cantrell, I'm looking around, I listen to a little bit of Alice in Chains. They're still decadent, they're still acting like they're in the 20s when they're like 50-ish, like my age. They put up sophomore videos. I guess they've been back for about 10 years now. And they have one hit that I can remember, I do remember Your Decision. I do remember that I used to listen to the radio. I didn't get on the internet till 2006, 2007. I mean, for approaching full-time internet addiction, I was still listening to radio. Something real nice about having a radio on if they know what they're doing, or if it's anywhere near what you want to hear. I saw that Layne Staley was never trained in music. Chet Baker, I just read, he got 1 year of music college, I think. Maybe he just said, fuck that. Because he wouldn't have known he had Asperger's, or he wouldn't have understood perfect pitch. Maybe they did understand that back in the day. But I've lost all interest in the search engines. The governments have totally battered us down as human beings. They got the two guys who revealed the mostest from the rest of them. That would be Snowden and Assange, and both of those guys are hurt. And Snowden has had his freedom taken away. He's exiled in Russia, and Julian Assange continues to rot and in prison. So my heart goes out to Assange. Yes, on that basic human level, it goes to Assange. But even beyond that, not to downplay that, but to go beyond that, this just shows that we're fucked, we're screwed. If this type of thing can persist, look at what happened when it got revealed through Assange, through WikiLeaks, that they cheated with Hillary over Bernie. And they had media involvement. It's just a total conspiracy proven out there on the table, yet nothing's done about it. No one even discusses it. The only people who discuss it are COINTELPRO fake independent media. They're the only ones who ever talk this stuff up. That's your Alex Jones. That's your Combo Couch. That's your Mike Rivero. That's your H.A. Goodman. The extent of it is mind-blowing. The Layne Staley thing is depressing the hell out of me. Or it did. And maybe I'm starting to come out of it. It's just so terrifying. You can actually see him in 95. He was already looking pretty bad. And there are a couple photos of him out there, and he looks anorexic. It's so bad. And Jerry Cantrell looks so bad. He looks washed up. It looks like a pure money grab. And all the comments on all the channels seem so rigged. It seems like spam. It's all advertisements. I'd probably drop down a troll comment or two, and they'd probably delete it. One doesn't go back and keep track of this stuff. We all know YouTube is... You don't know about the free speech, where it is, if it is at all. I mean, it depends on the channel owner. I don't really supply free speech through my channel. I do in a way. I mean, I check on comments. I see what's in the moderator queue. And that's only for the new ones. It's because I've been historically harassed on internet. I'm the guy who was sued by Brett Kimberlin. I have a true backstory. I have every right to be in the history book, as does anyone else who cares to be that way. And that's just by being involved in social media. We should count. It's not our fault we're getting deleted and restricted and shadow banned, all that. The clear-cut solution, say like back in the day, Martin Luther King, he was like, well, we're trying to get rid of segregation, so we'll base this on Henry David Thoreau and Gandhi. Some other guys probably. Step 1, step 2, that doesn't work. If not A, then B, so forth and so on. Whereas the shampoo ad said they would go and so on and so on and so on and so on. Then the goal would be to turn all the major platforms into public utilities. They broke the law. They've been illegally infringing on our constitutional rights to privacy. Might be pronounced privacy in England, I don't know. So yeah, we're fucked. I guess we're fucked. Because how can I, in all good faith, think there's any chance in hell that the major platforms will be turned into public utilities like they legally should? Why should I expect any hope of that? Why should I have any hope at all about anything to do with the public sphere when Assange is rotting in prison, when Alice in Chains can spam the crap, and Cantrell's complaining about trolls because they're saying no Layne, no chains. Alice in Chains. Yeah, no Layne, no chains. And it's true. I listened. I should have said more about this previously, earlier in this podcast I'm throwing together right here. It's got to wrap it up soon in order to get it within the 15-minute format. There's like 3 or 4 really good songs on the Mad Season album from '95. They're better than anything Cantrell ever came up with without Layne Staley. So my conclusion, as someone who did study some music, I studied a fair bit of music now that I think about it, in comparison to people, my conclusion is that Alice in Chains was the most overrated band of all time. They try to say give Jerry Cantrell most of the credit. He did most of the, probably did most of the, all the melody. Like, he didn't do all the lyrics, and Layne Staley did. But just the voice, the performance. There's so many bands in this world. So I'm not thinking Jerry Cantrell was anything that special, because his band doesn't sound good at all. The only song I remember that the new Alice in Chains ever had a hit with, it was Your Decision. It's like, come on, that song sucks. It was okay back in the day. It was like, oh, that sounds like the new hit for the comeback for AIC. But like Layne Staley, I mean, he was out of tune in a little bit. There's a few things here and there. There's some live radio. They taped it. They did this. Mad Season did some songs in some type of independent radio studio, or they called it a radio studio. Maybe it's their own studio. And you can see he was out of tune. Or now I'm forgetting. I'm trying to remember. But I did hear Layne Staley. He was struggling. He wasn't hitting every note. And it was obviously because of his drug addiction. He was losing mass off of his body. So Layne Staley, I think if I just go more into him, then this video podcast should make sense by the time I get through this last part here. Layne Staley had no musical training. His mom sang, though. His whole family liked to sing, and he was singing as a toddler. And he was like saying, I think at age 9, he was telling the family like that he's going to be a singer, or something to do with school, one of those things. He said, I'm going to be a singer. Now, when I was like 5, I remember I was 5 or 9, in that age group, when they start to ask you about, what do you want to be when you grow up, Timmy? And I said, I want to be a writer. And I did. I ended up writing. So this guy, Layne Staley, he had Asperger's, he had perfect pitch. I had perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is apparently about learning it while you're a kid. Maybe you can learn it as an adult, but for the most part, it's probably best to get cracking early at it as a kid to memorize the tones. They say that the Aspie is able to really hone in on each tone, and I'll vouch for that. But no one's ever asked, and they don't care about us. There's like all these millions of undiagnosed Aspies, and a lot of them are really vulnerable to the comorbidities. I've mentioned that I'm in the positive 1/3 that doesn't get depressed. But for most other Aspies, it looks sort of tough for them. It's tough. It is tough. You wouldn't believe how tough it is.